special guest. I'm not special, but Gabby is special because she's not me, someone other than me talking. It's important. So, Gabby and I were talking, and she was telling me a concept that I have never imagined. So, tell me what you were telling me that you've dealt with.
Oh, okay. So, being kind of like, there's two aspects that we were talking about the other day. There's being the funny girl, and then there's the evolving into, okay, you're the funny girl, and then moving into one of the guys. You're one of the guys, you're the sister, you're now undateable, basically.
Because you're funny.
Because you're funny, yes. It starts off with because you're funny. I mean, you get friend zoned for multiple reasons, but it starts off
But this has happened to you more than once.
Yes.
Throughout your life?
Oh,
Has
absolutely.
it always been this way?
On and off, yeah.
Did you grow up with a lot of brothers?
Yes.
And do you think that's part of why? Like you're used to being around them, joking around all the time, and by default, that kind of happened to you?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
The reason this is a relevant conversation is because I was telling Gabby about the videos, and I was saying that when it comes to male identity, I feel there's a lot of pressure that you have to be funny in some way. And I was saying I don't really feel that that's something that's expected of females, as like it is for guys. And then that's when you basically said that.
Yeah.
So it's
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, every female wants somebody that's going to make her laugh, but then on the flip side, every guy wants to be funny and make people laugh. They want a female that has a good sense of humor, but just in the sense of laugh at my jokes, not be funnier than I am.
Yeah, so it's like it's almost a sense of kind of like almost competition, or you make them feel inferior because you're kind of taking away what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, when you're funny, you're viewed more as smart and witty, and they want to be the smartest. And by they, I mean, you know, a man wants to be the smartest, most wittiest person in the room. They want to impress the lady, not the other way around. You know, makes them, I guess, probably feel, I don't know, more manly, masculine.
Yeah, I think absolutely this is a very underrated topic. This conversation we're having is not a conversation that often happens because a lot of my viewers think that what makes them attractive is their looks. And that's kind of another thing we were talking about, is that no, the way men and women are wired is much different. Specifically, in general, men specifically notice how a woman looks first. And it's not to say a woman doesn't notice how a man looks, but let me get past that, what's actually going on here. I mean, it is what I've observed, at least. So therefore, men are often reduced to, not so much even is he funny, but can he carry on a conversation? Is this an interesting person? What besides looks matters, you know, that sort of thing. So I had not thought about it from the opposite perspective, though. But what if you're the girl and you're used to joking around with people? Mm-hmm. And something I've noticed too, we've only known each other a couple weeks, and of course we both own Jeep Wranglers, so we're automatically cool.
Jeep life.
And do you always do the wave? Because I always do the wave.
I always do the wave, and you know what I've noticed? Completely off subject, but it's around the Jeep. What I've noticed is that Franklin and Brentwood hardly ever get a wave. Hardly ever. But yet you start to get a little bit further south, like, you know, Spring Hill,
Columbia.
and further. Always.
Yeah.
Always.
We're based out of the Nashville area. When I know we're rattling off towns in that area. But what I've noticed too, though, is the places where they're not waving, it's more of like rich kids, like their daddy bought them this Jeep.
Right. Yeah.
But out further south, it's okay. Well,
Yeah.
these are grown people driving.
Right.
These
They're
aren't
embracing
kids.
the Jeep life, not just I have a Jeep as a possession, I want to be cool. It's Jeep life, you live that Jeep life.
Yeah.
You worked
exactly.
hard to get that Jeep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that.
So, and I wonder if there's a Venn diagram of female Jeep drivers in general being funnier than most female. Maybe. Because I don't see Jeeps as a masculine thing, like specifically, okay, only guys. No, plenty of females drive Jeeps actually around here. But I wonder if by default they're funnier females. I don't know. I mean, this is groundbreaking conversation we're having. But the whole point of this is, yes, men are expected to be funny. That is absolutely part of the identity for a man. But when a female adopts that as her own, it actually can be a disadvantage to you. And you've experienced that more than once. So stop being funny.
Yeah. And that's actually a result that happens. So, I mean, if you think about it, so females, they will, when men are around, they might not joke around as much, you know, because they're supposed to be just calm, cool, collective, go with the flow, not funny, just laugh at your jokes, right? So they will adapt a alternate, I guess, personality, you know, instead of being that bold, witty, outspoken person. So it's, I mean, there's that too. And I mean, that bold and witty might not be, you know, I don't mean that they could be like a bitch, you know, I mean, it's just like speaking your mind. They might not speak their mind, they'll keep it to themselves because they don't want to be viewed as like outspoken, or, you know, they just kind of want to go with the flow. And by saying what they actually feel, even if it's in a joke form, they might be looked at differently.
I can see that too, and also to kind of ping it back over here, is that one of the things I always say is part of the masculine mindset also is that a man is decisive. When a man's not decisive, he's seen as not masculine, like Michael Scott and Andy Bernard on The Office. They can never make up their mind, and that's part of the comedy, but that they're men that are in charge, but they're indecisive. So what you were saying about even being opinionated, I could see how that, maybe that you come across as too decisive. And there's plenty of country song cliches performed by a female artist. Oh, I can't make up my mind. There's plenty of chick flicks where the whole point of it is she can't make up her mind. Runaway Bride example. But there's so many examples. So men are supposed to have views and know what they believe and make decisions. So I could see how that even could kind of serve as a disservice to you in that.
Yeah, I mean, you take a female that is independent, self-sufficient, you can't help her in any way, right? Or she doesn't really want your help.
There could be an intimidation factor there.
Absolutely, you know, I mean.
Or it could be a situation where you may attract a guy who is maybe doesn't have much ambition, because by default, I could see how that could be the case too.
They might not be intimidated by that because they have such a laissez-faire kind of attitude about everything in life.
And then you can find yourself attracting still someone who's not going to be someone you're attracted to because, well, this guy's not ambitious. I've seen that happen with other people before, for sure. So, something I want to say from what you said a minute ago is that we're taught, just be yourself. But clearly, it's not that easy.
Society doesn't make it that
They
easy.
don't reinforce that.
No.
We're told this our whole life, just be yourself, just be you. But I think this is my theory, is that ultimately, yes, be yourself, but there's a lot of you, that there's a lot of potential that you haven't used. There's other kind of versions of you being yourself, and sometimes you have to adapt. But unfortunately, if you're a girl that jokes around a lot, you may have to adapt a lot more than the average girl, it sounds like.
Sometimes, yeah. Just depends. I mean, when you're talking about your whole identity crisis, you know, I mean, there's how many different versions of that for a female as well. I mean, men and females, men and women both go through that young, you know, trying to figure out just in general who they are to begin with. So you have internal and external factors that play a part in that, and part of those external factors is, you know, your social involvement, your social environment. That's going to, I guess, shape who you are, but it's going to be those adaptive personality traits. It's going to be, okay, if you're kind of funny and witty, you're going to dial that down to be more socially accepted.
Yes, it's some, and that almost need to put that part in the title as far as as far as just be yourself. That is definitely not even a simple thing. Even if that were real, it's not simple because you're having to constantly reinvent yourself all the time. And so a closing reminder in this video is that ultimately, if we want to believe that as men or women that we're attractive in the ways that we think, we're largely often wrong, because there's how you see yourself, there's how you perceive that others perceive you, and then there's how they actually perceive you. And then it all changes. And then, like you said, even as you get through different stages in life, that even changes even more. So I'm grateful that you brought this up, because I think this is a very relevant conversation. And I think it just kind of reinforces how little looks arguably matter for guys. I mean, because this whole thing that, like, it's in the top 10 that a guy has to be funny. But for you though, being someone who apparently is too funny around guys, I'll end on this note then. Is it important to you that guys funny?
I think that kind of if you flip it, they have to have a good sense of humor, as far as like, I don't want somebody who's just gonna like look at me like I don't understand you. Like I want them to understand my wit. So it's not necessarily a requirement for them to be funny, but it's more, I would like them to be on the same intellectual level as me.
Yes.
So if I make a witty comment or something I might find funny, it might be at a higher level than, you know, just, you know, why'd the chicken cross the road?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It might be a little bit more higher level. I want them to understand where it's coming from,
Yes.
you know?
I can relate to you, and this is the last thing I'm saying. I can relate to you on that because here's how I usually start off my videos, okay? This when I'm not being like a real, because like I'm not playing a character. Like this is actually me, the real person, interacting with Gabby. But usually how I start my videos is like this. I am the living legend, the true alpha male. And what's funny is so many of the viewers, they're like, well, if you were really the alpha male, then you wouldn't go around saying, I'm like, oh man, they have no idea that this is all a joke. And that's part of the humor. There's different type, like, it's not just chicken cross the road humor. There's like, I'm gonna say something serious and see if you believe it. And if you believe it, then you miss the joke, and that's the humor, is when people don't get the joke.
There's
So.
even, I think probably my favorite, and what I do often is just sarcasm. Just sarcasm in, you know, that joking sense where sometimes you're actually being serious, but you say it in such a way, and what you say is so witty, it's really sarcasm. And honestly, I mean, that I like that as well. So if I'm looking for somebody, I'd like them to, you know, kind of have a little bit of that as well. But it goes along with having that intellectual wit.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think that's more important than, you know, looks.
Yeah.
Really.
Excellent. I love this 12-minute video. Thank you for being a special guest.
You're welcome.
Your comments, they belong right here.